Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jan. How are you? I'm still recording. All right, good morning and welcome to our Friday morning builder call. I am excited to be with you today and excited to share some information and see how your week's been and see what's going well and what needs to be going better. So go ahead and I'm going to open that up for you to share what's going well, what needs to be going better, and share your experiences of this last week. I will start for just a minute. Get to thinking here. How many of you are absolutely loving the adaptive line? I've had some really, really great experiences. Yesterday, I had my neighbor here who has struggled with depression and anxiety for years. Many years ago, she was in a rollover accident and one of her daughters died. And I don't know that she's ever recovered from that accident. And she's been on all kinds of medications since that time. She's using the oils haphazardly, not always her first reach. In fact, seldom, sadly, are they her first reach. And often, and this week she messaged me twice before I saw her yesterday, that she wanted to know if any of our products had copper, zinc, manganese, magnesium in it. And I said, yes, our Lifelong Vitality Pack has that in it, Catherine. And so I've been trying to get her on that for years, and I just can't keep her going. She's ordered it, she's bought it, it's expired in her cupboards, and trying to get her to actually take it has been really a push-pull experience. And so as I share that today, I'm going to share some follies, as we go through this, because I'm going to share some stuff from Elise Chedevy on sampling. But at any rate, yesterday I talked to her about the adaptive line and let her smell it. And she wanted the whole thing. She said, my depression's been really bad lately. And she's been on, like I said, antidepressants for many, many years. And she was taking gabapentin and she finally went off of that. And what's in our adaptive blend? What's in our capsules? We have that GABA in our capsules. So I'm really excited for this. But I've got two other people on my team. One who struggled with OCD significantly over her lifetime. She's got, I think she's got 6 children. I could be wrong. It might be 7. I think it's 6 though. 6 children. And she struggles with OCD every day of her life. And she says the adaptive line has been life-changing for her. And then my administrative assistant that you all hear from, Tay, is now using the adaptive line. And she said, after I heard your Facebook Live, I went and picked it up. And she said, I took it immediately. And by the time I got home, I noticed a difference. And so her life's been really changed. So I love the new products. My husband's came to me this morning and he's been using the celery seed oil every morning. And he says it's like clockwork, but he was always kind of clockwork. But he says he drinks the celery seed oil and he goes to the bathroom every day. Drinks the celery seed oil and he goes to the bathroom. And so I'm loving the new products, and I've had personal experiences as well. So now I want to open it up for you. What's going well? What needs to be going better? And go ahead and share.
I guess I'll share a product experience, I guess. My sister, she received her package. I sent it right after I picked it up from convention. Went to the mall and sent it off to her right away. We had 4 kits sent to Australia. So I finally got there about 3 days ago. And I sent it to my mom's house. Anyways, she came and picked it up the day after it arrived. And then there were products missing because my mom had taken them out and started playing with them. And Jamie's like, wait a minute, I didn't get the chance to play with it. She had several packets, of course, but she's like, So my mom's crazy doTERRA lady as well. Literally, she sold the turmeric like the moment she opened it up because my auntie was there trying to unbox with her, and it was not even her package. So, yep. Oh my goodness, they're like doTERRA. So yeah, they're really enjoying all the products, and especially the turmeric. It was amazing alone, but now it's in the capsule and then it's got the powder. I just can't imagine all the exciting things that they're going to tell us about. So I have to do a Vietnamese video on that one soon too. Jamie took the kit home and rubbed the tamer on her 2 kids. I think they're 3 and 6. And she said half an hour later, they both went to the bathroom. So it's just, flushing. And yeah, she's like, whoa, it just works so amazing because some of her kids, they have a little bit of an OCD and they struggle to relax. And one of the daughters, she said she doesn't like to go to the toilet and she refuses. And so she hasn't pooped for a couple of days, at a time. So Jamie's like, I don't know how stubborn that child is, but she's used all these oils, but this celery seed, bang, not celery seed, but the tamer, I don't know if it has celery seed, but that's amazing.
Yep.
So, yeah. And my dad, he's not much of an oil person. He just gets given oils and he just takes them very obediently, but he doesn't initiate taking oils. But when they were playing with the oils and Jamie was saying, this does this and that does that, he's like, I need that one and I need that one and I need that one. So he's like claiming them all. So she's like, this is weird. What's wrong with him? So anyways, it was really good to hear everyone loving it. But unfortunately, the Aussies, they have to pay another $40, $50 more than us in USD, because it's just how it is to ship to Australia. And the shipping is not that much more, but I don't know, their prices are always different. So good results. Yeah.
Yeah, very good results. Awesome. Awesome, sir. Who else wants to share? Jen, Dana?
Okay, I'm here. So I've been really trying to figure out the beauty complex, the Yarrow Palm. And wow, I mean, when you look at the ingredients of that is more than a beauty complex. That's digestive, that's immune support. I mean,
hormonal support.
Yes, it's incredible. So I really, though, I want to be able to teach it and and really, be able to share it with people because that I think is going to be amazing. And I don't think people realize how amazing it is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I have not taken it religiously every day. So I'm learning about it as well. So I'm excited to feel more confident about it. And taking it every day is going to help, right?
Well, I've been taking just one a day at lunchtime because I've been trying to experiment and I have so much going on that I can't tell what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I'm an experimenter. So I've just been doing one at lunch. And honestly, I take a Mighty to Max too at lunchtime, but I feel like the beauty complex, I'm calling it the right name, right?
Yeah. Yep. You are.
Gives me a little extra boost of energy even. So I'm not sure how that all fits together, but I know there's some minerals in it. There's some zinc and what's the other one that's in there? So that could be part of it too, just that little extra boost.
And it's got the omega oils in it. So
yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Good news. All right, Jen, anything? Can you jump down here?
Hi.
Hello.
Right now it's a lot of sampling. I'm doing a ton of sampling and I'm 3/4 of the way through Empowered Success. I just love it. I love that entire program. It's been amazing. It has really just spoken to me. But it's the sampling that I'm doing right now and making sure that everybody has touched it and experienced it before we really sit down and talk. And I'm seeing a huge difference with that. I'm trying to get 2 touches in. It's still amazing to me when someone says to me, I've never touched or smelled or used essential oils. And so that's just what I've been doing all week. And it is classic. It is like textbook. It's me walking through the grocery store, seeing a friend that I've invited 10 times. She's just too busy. And then she starts talking about all the things that are wrong. And so that's what I'm doing this morning is I'm putting all that together and just dropping it off and talking to people.
Awesome, Jen. And that's a segue into what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So perfect segue. And Marie, welcome. Good to have you on here. If you're able to jump on, Marie, we've been sharing what's working well, what needs to be working better. And we've talked a little bit about the new products and our experiences with them thus far, which has been absolutely phenomenal. And so I would love to invite you to share before I go into sampling. I have one person already done with the Empowered Success training. She's got her goals ready for the year. So she's, I'm really excited for Carrie. And Jen, I'm glad you're almost through it, 3/4 of the way through it. And I hope to get through it really fast too. So I'm excited for that. But I have been listening this last couple of weeks to Elise Chedevy's mentor calls. How many of you have been listening to those? I know we talked about it last week. They're phenomenal. They're really phenomenal too. And so we've got some really great free training out there. Now, I have been wanting to go to Elise Chedevy's training in Prague for about 3 years. And I am actually going the first week in November. I'm really excited about that. But I got to tell you, as I've been listening to these mentor calls, my thought was, I probably could have saved a couple of $1,000s had I just listened to these first. But I'm excited to go. And I know Casey just got back. She was there last week. And so did Emily Wright. Emily Wright went out there. So a bunch of Presidential Diamonds went out there to be trained and to facilitate mentoring with those people that were being trained. And Emily Wright was one of those that took part in that. So she just got back yesterday too. Or let's see, what is today? Today is Friday. It might have been Wednesday that Emily Wright got back. So anyway, but so I want to share some things because let me just say something that as I've been sampling people, I think I could have done it a lot better. And when I see what Elise Chedevy has been doing, she says that 95% of the people she samples become business partners. That is absolutely huge. And so she's a triple Presidential Diamond. And so I think I have something to learn from her. And so when she said that statistic, I was like, I went back and re-listened to all the sampling, and I've done it probably 3 or 4 times now. And I'm just going to share some information with you today using her recordings. Okay, so I'm going to go to her recordings, and I will post in the chat box some links for you if you need them in order to connect with her posts. I will post some scripts as we go through this. So hang on one second while I bring this up. Well, maybe I need to do that first. I'm not getting much here. Okay. All right. So let's listen.
Hello, welcome to the Daily Mentor Calls. This is Elise Chedevy. We are actually on call number 6 today. But over the next 5 calls, we're going to be talking about how to effectively sample essential oils. First of all, we want to go over why we sample in the first place, why it's super important. And then maybe some of the basics of sampling, what you need to know to sample essential oils properly. We're also going to be talking about how to deliver the sample and set the right expectations. And then, of course, how to follow up once you've given somebody a sample so they have an awesome oil experience. So first of all, why do we sample essential oils? Some people actually think, well, it takes a lot more time and it's a lot more expensive, it's more money. And so there definitely are those people that try to just explain the oils and invite to a class and have people purchase before they ever get a chance to try essential oils. Well, doTERRA is one of the fastest growing network marketing companies in the world. And there's a reason for that. Because we focus so much on our product and we let people experience the power of essential oils before they're ever asked to purchase, this is what sets us apart from so many other companies in the industry. And essential oils are very experiential, meaning that you can hear everything you want about an essential oil, but until you have a headache and someone says, hey, try this peppermint or try some deep blue or past tense, and just minutes later your headache is gone, you don't realize the power of essential oils and how quickly they work. So we have always promoted when you start your business or even when you start to share, the very first thing that you want to do is sample as many people in your warm market, friends, family, people you know at work, and just ask them what kind of ailments they're dealing with, health issues they're dealing with in their home or with themselves, and let them try the product. Now, this has been so successful. It's one of the reasons why we have so many moms actually in our industry, in our business. And we're kind of, I know that a lot of other companies in our industry look at doTERRA and think to themselves, how are they attracting, young mothers? I mean, it's an amazing market to attract. Number one, not only are they in charge of purchasing for their own, for their own health benefits, but they're also in charge of purchasing for all their children, their home, and their spouses. So they have a lot of purchasing power. And they are very, very, very into looking for natural remedies right now. People are getting really frustrated with the side effects and the addictions that come with medication. So it's so important that we sample. In fact, every once in a while, I hear someone or a group of people that come up with this new thing that says, hey, it's more effective and it's faster and you grow your business quicker if you don't sample. This is absolutely not the case. In fact, every single person that has been very, very successful in this business has done it through sampling and has done it with their leaders through sampling. So if you ever hear something like that, all I want you to think of is there's a real reason why we were one of the first companies to $1 billion. And that is absolutely because of the way that we sample. In fact, we have kind of a secret weapon, and that's that little essential oil keychain. You've seen those before, right? And it's like every mom should have one of those keychains with their 8 most popular oils and the 8 oils that they use the most on their keys. So at any time she has access to those oils whenever and wherever for whatever need arises. I can't even tell you how many times I've used one of those keychains with kids that are sick in the car, my children that have headaches, maybe people that are getting stressed out. When I'm at soccer, making sure that I have that keychain. Constantly people are asking me for Deep Blue, for bruises or for pain. I mean, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. So we absolutely should be sampling. That's not even a question. It is absolutely worth the time and the expense of sampling. Now, one of the other things that I want to talk about is a lot of people feel like, well, the quicker the sampling process happens, like if I can decide to share or do a business and within 2 days have a class and just call up all my friends and say, hey, come to my class at 7 o'clock, on Thursday, and it's only Tuesday afternoon, they feel like I'm being more effective. And the faster I can have classes, the faster I can teach people about essential oils and the faster that they'll sign up. This is absolutely opposite of my experience and hundreds, if not thousands of successful leaders all around the world, their experience. So let me tell you where you really should be putting your time. And the more that we go through these calls, I think the clearer and clearer it will become. The more contacts that you have with a person, so the more touches you have with them, I'm going to give you an example. If you call them first to ask them for a sample, and then you actually go over to their house and sample it, so you already have 2 contacts with that person. And then maybe you call back a few days later and follow up, and maybe you have to drop off another oil because that oil didn't work as well. And then maybe you drop it off again. You already have 5 different contacts with that person. The more what I found is the more time I take in preparation, in the prep time, and the more contacts I have before they're asked to make a buying decision, like at the class. So the more contacts that you have, the more time you take before the class actually happens. Number one, by far, they're more likely to purchase essential oils. And I found that they're far more likely to build the business with me, to want to share and build the business. We usually do business with people we like and we trust, and we feel like, hey, they're going to take us to a place that I can't really take myself to. And the more that we reach out and have connections and contacts with somebody and say, hey, I'll do this. I'll come drop off this oil tomorrow night, and we do it. And then we say, I'll call you back in 2 days and see how you've liked the oil, and we do it. Or we drop off another oil for their daughter or for a different ailment, or possibly it didn't work the way they wanted, and we do it. And then we call back again and see how that worked, and we do it. The more we actually do what we say we're going to do, and the more chances we get to prove that to a person, the more they feel like, hey, I trust this Elise girl, and I like her, and I feel like she's going to be successful. And if I do this business with her, I feel like I will be more successful than if I did it on my own. And so you need to take your time in the preparation. It is so key. In fact, most, if not all, of the mistakes that I see happening when it comes to inviting to a class or people actually at the class is always because they didn't take enough time in preparation. And we're going to go over that and talk about that more in the other calls. For example, if someone that comes to a class and they say, well, I think I need to talk to my husband. That's a problem with your preparation beforehand. If you had prepped properly, you wouldn't have that issue in a class. If you have someone that comes to a class and says, I'm not sure, it's a little bit expensive, let me think about it. That right then, it tells me you don't take enough time in preparation. That's a problem with prep, and we'll go over all these things. Also, if someone comes to a class and they're really hesitant in sharing it with other people and not wanting their own friends and family to have the same experience, that's a problem with your preparation. I have found that if I slow down and if I take more time to sample and to follow up and to prep them before they get to a class or before I ask them to purchase, they always are more willing to buy, and they're almost always more willing to at least share the essential oils with others, if not do the business with me. In fact, just to be so clear, about 95% of the people that I talk to and that actually end up purchasing the essential oils want to do the business with me. 95%. Am I just lucky? Do I just so happen to talk to or contact or meet in an airplane just only those people that are interested in the business? Absolutely not. It's because what you say matters, how you prep them matters, and taking your time in preparation is always more effective. In fact, you'll save way more time if you actually take your time in preparation than if you don't. And I'm hoping by the end of these next 5 calls, you'll know exactly why. So your goal, if this is a goal today, is simply to learn and to rethink through your mind that we're not trying to just have quick classes and immediately invite our friends to a class. That is not the goal. We need to actually reprogram our brains into thinking, take our time in the prep. Meaning that if you want to hold a class and you haven't invited people yet to hold a class, you want to at least have 1 to 2 weeks out before you hold that class. And I'm going to show you exactly why. Okay, we'll talk to you on the next call. Bye-bye.
Okay, thoughts. I'm going to have full disclosure here today because I have not always taught it this way. In fact, I don't know that I've ever taught it this way. Years ago, when I was working with Emerge Sales Training, which was a mistake in retrospect, because they teach in Emerge not to sample, that it's a waste of time and money and effort. And I passed that on to you. And some of you did that, okay? And so this is for clarification, and I'm going to turn about 180 degrees and go this direction. So I'm really grateful for what she shares here. But years ago, we were told that it takes about 7 touches, 7 connections to get them to be ready to buy. As I have been working with Deb Erickson for close to 3 years now, at least 2, maybe it's 3, she says now that's 23 touches. So if you feel like you're taking a lot of effort to get people enrolled, maybe it's because they need a few more touches. And so Elise's point here, take time in the prep. Don't hurry them through the sampling. Take time. And I'm going to play a couple more segments here in just a minute to show you what she says as far as follow-up. because this is a real critical piece in getting them to see the process and then duplicate the process of sharing. And so your thoughts as you listen to this.
I feel like it's like this pendulum, right? That like, if you swing too far, I think either way you get into troubles. Like if you just give out samples willy-nilly, especially for new people when they had no money coming in. And I think that's probably where the backlash from sampling got created, was there was a lot of sampling being done without enough significant follow-up. And so, you know, people were like, I can't afford it, right? And like, if you're already making money on it and you're getting like a lot of, you know, points that you can use those points to buy oils to sample with, it's a little bit of a different story than when you're like first starting out. So I feel like that's kind of why the Emerge messaging appealed to people, because it did resonate where they felt like the sampling wasn't like effective, right? So like I can see where that came. And then I feel like the other end of that pendulum is then, you know, the no sampling. And then it's like also very true that if a person doesn't have their own product experience to trust in, simply just trusting you saying that this is going to work for them is a huge leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So
the follow-up is a critical piece, right? And
I think that's the total like make or break on it, a sample. And for me, like I know for myself, I'm not as good as I should be or I could be with like the follow-up process.
Yeah, and I'm not either.
And I do actually like the idea of low cost sampling. So I did like a baby trade show on the weekend. Sorry, I'm hijacking your call.
No, I
did a baby trade show on the weekend and I sold like a low cost baby roller off the table. And I thought, and that was very Emerge. Like it was completely the Emerge style of trade show. And I actually loved it because I made back my cost of my table plus extra. And then when people bought that low cost roller, then I explained that at the trade show, I don't have enough time to explain to them how to use that roller. So like in a really in-depth form. So I said, give me your email and I'm going to write up details all about the oils that are in it, how to use it, and then I'm going to send that to you. So now I have their contact information, right? And everybody loved that. And then, then that almost acts like a low cost sample. Does that make sense? Like they paid for it, but it in a sense, it fulfills the same, you know, if I do the follow-up, right, and ask them how it's going, and, you know, then it works like a sample. So I feel like sampling is good, and I feel like it's still okay also to sometimes have a cost for the sample if it's low.
Very good. Thanks for your share, Marie. Okay, anybody else want to comment?
So that naturally, I was thinking back when I first started and I had no training. That's what I did naturally, you know. We just carried the oils around, and you know, people feel yucky, and then you give oils to people. One of my first experience was with a girl at church. She was coughing, and I'm like, oh, I have something for you. And she's like, okay, what is it? I said, here, stick your hand out. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I need it. And so I gave her a little mini sample. And I said, you know, I'll call you back and, you know, see how you go. I don't know if it's going to work for everyone, but it's so far worked for me. And it was just a natural thing. And then 2 months later, she ordered 500 PV worth of stuff. And she's one of my legs. Yeah, with that, it's just a natural thing. But I feel like it's just come from a outward mindset. And if you have an outward mindset, it doesn't matter how long it takes. You're still there for them. Like 32 contacts or 6 contacts or touches, who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's that person matters. That person needs you, and they're responding, and they really want to heal. I mean, if you're not talking about people who, you know, are passive, and like, you know, and treating you like trash, like, okay, you're peddling oils. But people who genuinely want to find solutions. So I think that's beautiful. And I do like the idea of charging people, because then they value it. It's how much value you put into your sample anyways in the first place. So I bet Elise would say, hey, this does this, and she holds on to it and tries to explain it and just love on that sample before she gives it to them. She doesn't just throw it at them. I'm sure she'll explain it to them and tell them exactly what it's good for. So, throwing value into it, makes a huge difference. So last night I'm doing, because you're talking about wins, I'm doing courses. I'm doing the 5-week courses again. That's how I built my business to diamond, because that's who I am. That's my brand. My brand is education. So these people pay me $50 to come to my 5-week course, 6 of them, and every single week. I mean, we have had, so many purchases. One lady, she already purchased about $800 worth from the beginning of their course to now, and it's only 5 weeks total. Okay, so you can imagine how much she's been spending. And they all want to go to post-convention tour. They have a little sample of whatever it is that we're doing each time we meet. So we had a thyroid sample yesterday. We made our own. So I think that's like a more in-depth way of sampling. It's a lot more effort. I feel in my head, I'm thinking, I really like this, but I hope I'm not dumb in taking my sweet time with each of these people. And like listening to Elise Shedevy, it feels, like it's an answer to my prayers, because it was comforting to feel like it's worth it. Because the people that I did the 5-week courses that have graduated, they're still buying. And I never have to go back, because that passion, grew while I was with them. This loving unit, they're friends forever. They want to drive up to Atlanta together to go to the post-convention tour. They want to have dinner together now. And they're sharing that they're pooping more than 3 times a day. They're sharing that their kids are, focused and not fighting with them. And I'm all, oh my gosh, all of this loving, this is a doTERRA version of your Alcohol Anonymous or whatever. And it really is. It's like, oh, I got a story now. It's been a weekend. Oh my gosh. I am sleeping through the night without peeing. Oh, okay, everyone's here. And I thought, okay, that's it. That's the outward mindset that is sampling them as we hold hands throughout this 5-week. I just think I'm gonna keep doing this. This is working.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. All right. We're going to go on to her next segment here. And pictures are right there.
Hi, this is Elise Shedevy, and welcome to Daily Mentor Call 7. On this call, we're going to talk about sampling basics, everything you need to know about sampling before you actually deliver the sample. And there are really specific ways that you can be effective when you sample. And there are also a lot of ways that are just complete waste of time and money. So if you follow this method exactly, don't tweak anything. Don't change anything, right? Trust me on this. As you go through the sampling, the follow-up, and the inviting process, you can literally anticipate 80% of the people coming to classes that say they will, way higher enrollments, getting people on LRP easily, and finding builders quicker. It is way worth your time to take your time during this preparation and sampling period. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is that the samples we give are completely free. I mean, there's something beautiful about walking up to somebody and saying, your child is dealing with an ear infection, try this. And handing them a sample absolutely for free, and saying to them, I'll call you back in just a couple of days, see how it works, before you ever ask them to purchase anything. We have to remember that people want to get rid of their ailments way more than we want to help them get rid of them. I mean, they're the ones that are dealing with them all the time. So if they can see the power of essential oils and immediately feel some relief, they're going to want to purchase them way more than we want to sell them. Always give them a chance to get a sample and do it for free. Now, we do have some people that will say, oh my goodness, it's too expensive and I can't afford that. Honestly, when it comes to building this business, you can't afford not to sample. It's the simplest, easiest, and fastest way to build your business and eventually have financial freedom. The second thing is we only sample one oil at a time. Now, this is hard for some people. And I will tell you that there is one exception to this, but almost always we only sample one oil at a time. For instance, if someone is dealing with back pain, right, we could just say, hey, why don't you try this Deep Blue? Now, that's not exactly how we're going to ask them to try it, because we're going to go over delivering the sample and setting the expectations, but you could give them a sample of Deep Blue, but just one oil. There's a lot of different reasons for this. Number one, remember in the last call we talked about how the more touches and the more contacts you get with a person before they're asked to make a buying decision, the more likely they are to purchase and the more likely they are to want to share and do the business with you. Well, it gives us an opportunity, if the first oil doesn't work, to go back again. Now, I know that what some of you are thinking is, oh my goodness, that's a waste of time. It's not. In fact, it's not a waste of time at all. It's the most effective use of your time. So only give them one oil at a time. And we'll show you as we go through this sampling process that if it doesn't work the way that you want it to, then you can go back and give them maybe wintergreen for their back, or Cobaiba, or another oil like this, right? So the other reason why we only give one oil at a time is we want them to just try that oil and not have so many other oils, because we want them to have oils that they need to purchase, right? And we also want to make sure we know which oil is working for them. So we focus on one to know if it works, and then we can change things up. So, and it's much cheaper, obviously. It's much, much cheaper. And with that one oil, we always choose the cheapest oil that we feel that will bring the most, that will be our best bet of what would work best. Let me tell you why. When you're helping someone, when you're helping somebody with an ailment, let's say a skin issue, and you have, well, you could tell them Melaleuca, or you could say, well, we could try Helichrysum. Well, I always like to offer the cheaper solution. Why? Because if you give them a solution that's the least expensive for them, they can be using it the most often. And I think you would also like that too. If Melaleuca works, then you don't have to take it to something like Helichrysum. So always give them one oil, make sure it's free, and choose the least expensive oil at the beginning. And then we can take it to the next level if they need something a little bit more or different. We also only sample one health challenge or health issue at a time, only one. So basically you wouldn't say, well, okay, I'll give you something for your allergies and your acne and sleeping and your Lou Gehrig syndrome, right? You're going to choose one health challenge at a time. And we're always going to choose the health challenge that is the easiest to see the quickest results on. For example, if we're going between Lou Gehrig's disease and acne, obviously choose acne. Now, sometimes this goes against our nature because we think to ourselves, well, gosh, their other issue is way more important, right? And it's hurting them or causing problems for their life way more than acne. So I really want to help them with whatever it is, right? With their cancer or diabetes or whatever it is. But that is not what we want to do. We first want to choose the most simplest challenge that they're having that will get the quickest results. So for example, if they are struggling with acne, we can simply say, hey, try Melaleuca for a couple days, and we're going to show them how to try it, right? And we'll go through that with you. And if they see some results for Melaleuca, then in their minds, they think to themselves, oh, my goodness, if this could work for Melaleuca, or if this could work for acne, maybe it could work for some of my bigger health challenges that me or my family is having. So that's how we build faith in essential oils. It's so, so important that we only focus on one oil at a time, on one health challenge at a time, and the health challenge that's easiest or we'll see the quickest results from, and that our sample is free. So those are the basics when it comes to sampling. And I do have a lot of people that will ask me, well, what sample vials do you put in? Do you put it in, the bigger ones or the smaller ones? It doesn't matter. I've done it both ways, and it doesn't seem to make a big difference. And then I'll have people saying, well, how much do you sample them, right? Well, I like to sample them so they'll have enough for a couple of days. So they'll have enough time to see results. And usually that's, 10 to 20 drops of an oil. So 10 to 20 drops in a little vial, whether it's the larger or the smaller. Make sure you put a sticker on the top of it so they know what oil that they're using. And once again, make sure that it's free, that you only sample one oil at a time, that you sample only one health challenge at a time, and that you pick the health challenge that they'll get the quickest results from. All right, sounds good. Thanks for being with us on this call.
Okay, thoughts on what she shared there? Now, she does in the next call, she says if you are mailing samples, that's a time where you might mail a couple at the same time, okay? So if you're mailing them out, we don't want a week's time in between before they get the next sample. But great information there on, so go ahead and share.
I like how she simplified it, because sometimes I'll get overwhelmed with all they're giving me. I feel like, oh, I need to take out a pad and paper. Hold on. So I like how she took the simplest, most direct one that has a chance of getting the results the quickest. That helped me a lot. So it was interesting because sometimes I'll feel guilty just giving when I just dropped a sample off at a front door, and she didn't give me any health problems. She's a gym owner and a spa owner. And I really want to work with her. I really want her to be a team member and a builder with me. And she gave me nothing because she's very, I'm going to say, prideful about that, that nothing was ever wrong. But she told me she was going to a cabin and she would love some literature. And then so I gave her Serenity. And I told her, because it's her calming, it's her calming place. And so I said, okay, well, then that's what I'll give her. But I sometimes feel guilty just giving one, but I'm also glad that you said the mailing, because I mail a lot. That would be hard for me just to do one. So maybe 2 or 3 I could do.
Yeah. So good thoughts, but remember the touches. That's her focus, is take time in the prep, get as many touches in as you can. And then what's the likelihood that they'll actually come to your class? What's the likelihood that they'll actually enroll? What's the likelihood that they'll actually enroll in LRP? The more we spend time up front in the sampling and the prep work of helping them know this is a wellness lifestyle, not just a bottle of oil, the better we do. So last night I had a class at my home, and I just finished a week ago yesterday, I finished a hypnobirthing series. And so I extended my hypnobirthing series, it's not part of the hypnobirthing curriculum, obviously, to invite them to a class on essential oils and pregnancy, birthing, and babies, okay? Now, only 2 of my 4 couples came, and which was fine, but we talked about a lot of this. And one of the guys is going to school to be a physician's assistant, and he's been very medical throughout my experience. It's been a really tough cookie to get him to class in the first place. Finally convinced him that he wanted to do this, but that was after he attended class 1 with his wife for free. And then they deliberated for 40 minutes. Some of you have heard this story, perhaps. They deliberated for 40 minutes after the class was done. They exited quickly to a corner of the office to actually talk about did they really want to take this class. Then they came back, and he was bugged by the price. Does everybody charge this amount of money? And I said yes. And so anyway, it was just a really tough cookie. And every class he asked lots and lots of questions. So of course, at the beginning of last night's questions, I made the comment that my life's journey has taken me to this place of seeking answers in the natural solutions. And he wanted details. Would you be open enough to share, he kept saying. And why was this working for you? And he just wanted me to share. And he was taking voracious notes. Now, I'm a voracious note taker, so I can totally relate with that. But he was taking voracious notes throughout the entire night. And he had to say, excuse himself for a minute. Can you hold off just a minute? I need to go get my notepad in the car. I forgot it in the car. And I offered him a piece of paper like he asked for. And he was like, no, I'll just go get my own notepad. And just voracious notes all night long, okay? And so it was just a really fun interaction as he recognized, oh, I could use this for this, that, and the other. Now, he did not enroll last night. The wheels are turning, and I am certain that at some point he and his wife will enroll. And I'm just not pushing it, right? I gave him that option last night. And so in the way, then I used her. Her due date was a week ago. Her due date was the last day of class. That was a problem for them signing up for my class. He wanted to know why this class would be so important and what happens if they miss the last class. And I just simply said, you won't miss the last class. Your baby's very accommodating, knowing that you're preparing for this gentle, calm birth, and it'll be just fine, and your baby will wait for you. And I'm not sure he liked that or not, but that was the answer I gave him. And so it's been a really fun journey. And as I talked with him last night, I was like, they've made incredible strides to create their ideal birthing outcome. And so it's really a fun class. And then I demonstrated labor acupressure with Clary Sage on his wife last night, which was really a fun token. And they were, and then sent them home with a sample bottle of Clary Sage. Now you know how to use it. This is how you use it, how often, till that baby arrives, right? And so really fun evening last night. But the sampling part of talking with them through the fact that each one of us have used an oil for a specific concern and not exactly gotten the results we had hoped for, right? And so to explain, like Elise does, that try this sample, do it this way. I'll follow up with you in a couple of days. We'll see if that's the right sample for you, right? Because as with medications, sometimes the medications don't do what they're expected to do. And we call the doctor back and say, this isn't working, I need something different, right? With essential oils, if we set it up that this may or may not work, and we'll find one that does, because we're all different and we respond to different things. For me, I was able to share last night that when I tweaked my shoulder doing a birth with tug of war pushing and re-injured my former broken shoulder, Deep Blue did not touch my pain, did not touch it. And I used a half a roller bottle of Deep Blue and it did not touch it. And then my husband comes home from work at 10 o'clock at night. Here's my pharmacist husband recommending oils, right? And he says, look in your resource book for bursitis and find the oils that are good for bursitis. And I did that. And ever since that time, Deep Blue is occasionally my first reach. But for Debbie Gordon, it's not always my first reach. And I reach for a combination of basil, marjoram, and cypress with some frankincense. And that is my go-to for pain. And so I was able to share, not all of us have the same experience with the oils. And we keep tweaking it until we find the right combination for our bodies. And so that's a big deal in the sampling process to set them up for success, that if this one doesn't work, we'll try another one. We'll try another one until we find results for you, because I know these products work, right? And so we'll just go back and back and back. And all those touches set them up for, oh my gosh, maybe it can work for this. Maybe it can work for that. And that's when they're really looking for the options. Go ahead.
Debbie, what I hear is your confidence that there's gonna be a solution. So I think some people, they're afraid of it not working because, then the people will give up. But your confidence is there is a solution, we just have to find it. And one guy, he told me this guy, he just sounded exactly like the person that you're describing. So nerdy, just asked me a million questions, and just kept on asking. And anyways, every time he texts me and he comes back to ask me more questions, he's like, you say this one oil does all these things. Every time you say this one oil and then does all these other things, it's just like a lot of things that each oil can do. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, isn't that confusing? And, I said, I think you want a pill for an eel, an oil for an eel. You want just exactly. But I said, us humans, we're so complicated. Pain, it goes through a million pathways in our body. So we don't know which pathway you're going to go through. And I said, for example, headaches. Headache isn't a headache. It could be this and this. And I listed it out. And I said, hormonal headache. And he's like, oh, I want to know what that is. And I'm all, for your wife? And he's like, yeah. So it's just funny. I said, look, can you see that we just have to really connect to our body? And as we use the oils a lot, we can ask ourselves, what kind of headache is this? And he's like, oh, I get you. So at first it was like, oh, Jade, I don't know. What you say is all too much and too confusing. How can I sell these oils to people? Yeah. But I guess that's how I explain it. Anyway.
So I love this concept that she is teaching us here, that the more touches up front, the less tugging and pulling later on, right? there won't be a tug and a pull. And if we do, if what we say we're going to do time and time again throughout preparation process, what's the likelihood they'll join us in business? I hope that I can say one day that 95% of the people I enroll join me in the business. I hope that I have those statistics one day. Okay. So for Elise to share that, I think she's got something here. Oops, hang on a second. Okay, so, all right, so one more segment. Hang on with me.
Welcome to the Daily Mentor Calls. This is Elise Shedevy, and we are on call number 8. We are going to talk about how to deliver the sample. Now, let me just back up just a little bit. If you are talking to somebody online and you need to mail them a sample, or if you're talking to somebody in person, right, but they just don't live in your local area and you also need to mail the sample, you may want to include a couple of oil samples, not just one, because it's really hard to go back and forth waiting to see what kind of experience, and then they have to wait again for a shipment. So that's the one time I would say, don't do just one, send a couple of samples and you can walk them through it, okay? Now, it's always best if you deliver the samples in person. It's always more effective. If you can go to their home or if you can go to work, or it's always more effective. But I want to tell you a couple of things that you need. When you show up and when you're going to deliver your sample, you need 2 things. Number 1, you need the sample of the essential oil you feel will be most effective, and the one that is cheapest that you feel would be most effective for what they're dealing with. Number 1, because it's cheaper for you to sample, and number 2, because it's cheaper for them. If it works for them, that's great. If it doesn't, we'll show you a way how to sample them something else, and sometimes it's maybe a little bit more expensive or something just different, right? So you need the sample of what you feel will be most effective, what you've had the best experiences with their specific ailment, and then you need one of those essential oil quick reference books. There's lots of different, they're the teeny little ones, right? That you just look up the ailment and it says, here are the oils that you can use and this is how you use them. I like the one that's called the A to Z guide, but there's a lot of them out there, and you need one of these books with you because it's really key for you when you're dropping off the sample. Now, as you're going and you're knocking on the door, right? And they come to the door and they say, hi, and you say, hi, how are you? You simply just show them the little sample and say, here's the sample that I was telling you about. And let's assume that they're wanting to sleep better. They're having problems sleeping. And so you're wanting to bring some Serenity oil for them. You've had a lot of success with Serenity. So what you're going to say right after you show them the sample is you're going to set some expectations. Now, this is so key. It's so critical. And almost no one does it when they're delivering samples. I think number 1, they weren't taught it, or they don't realize how important it is, or they do realize how important it is. They were taught it, but they just don't train it to the rest of their team so it doesn't duplicate. It is so critical that you set the right expectation for these oils. Now, let me tell you why. Let's assume that you're going to someone's house and you're dropping off a Serenity oil for them to sleep. And what if you were to say to them, oh my goodness, I have this oil. It's incredible. Like everyone that I give it to sleeps like a baby. It's amazing. You're going to love it. All you need is just a couple of drops. And I'll call you back and you're going to have the best experience. I know you will. Like your insomnia days are over. I mean, I know that I exaggerated that a little bit, but even just simply saying everybody has good luck with this. What happens? Well, a lot of times, not everyone, the very first time they use an oil, have exactly the results they're looking for. In fact, if I were to go have a room of 1,000 people that are really familiar with oils, and if I were to ask all of those 1,000 people, have you ever used an oil that you didn't get results for right away, or that you didn't have the results you were looking for? Almost every single hand would go up. That's happened to all of us, right? Well, and the reason why is because all of our bodies are different, and essential oils work on bodies differently. They don't work the exact same way. This is not a silver bullet for everybody. And if you present it as if it's a silver bullet, what happens is that night, if they take the, Serenity and they don't sleep better, then literally they wake up in the morning and their brain doesn't think to themselves, well, maybe it's just me, or maybe I should use another oil. What they usually think is, essential oils don't really work. They're kind of hokey. So when you call back, they're either negative or they say, I'm just going to stick with what I have, or they might even lie to you and just say, well, I decided I didn't want to use it, whatever. But the whole point is you're cutting off a huge percentage of people that still could have a good experience with essential oils because you didn't set the right expectation. So what is the right expectation, and what should we be saying when we drop off a sample? And this is so key. This is like sampling 101. And we need to do this, and we need to teach this, and we need to role play this. And I'm going to tell you, you need to memorize this. This is one thing you need to memorize. Why? Because if you haven't memorized, you never have to worry about what you're going to say at this point. And you can personalize it to the person in front of you. So this is what it looks like. You're at the door, you knock, they open the door, you say, hi. Oh my goodness, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here. Hey, I brought this oil that I was telling you about that I feel really good about. I've had a lot of good experiences with it. It's called Serenity Oil to help you sleep. But I want to tell you something. And this is where you give your memorized spiel. Okay, this is where you set the expectation. It goes like this. Essential oils are similar to medication in this way. When you have an ailment and you go to the doctor and receive a prescription, and if you use it and it doesn't work, you usually don't think to yourself, I'm never going to try medicine ever again because it's all useless. What you think is, dang it, that medication didn't work on my body, so I need to go back to the doctor and maybe ask him for something different. We have been programmed this way. We understand that medications affect people differently. Essential oils are similar in the fact that each oil is not going to have the exact same effect on every single person. So if you use an oil and you don't get the result you're looking for, that's okay. We can try something else. And if you're patient enough with essential oils like you are with medication, we'll find something that is safer, cheaper, and more effective for you. That is how you set the expectation. That is what I want you to memorize and train to your team and role play. We need to be setting that expectation for all of these people. If they have a great experience, super. Then they think essential oils are great. If they don't have the experience they're looking for, in their mind they think, oh yeah, she did tell me that not everything works on everybody the same way. Maybe I should try something different. So that's what we're going for, right? Now, after you've set this expectation, then you need to tell them how to use it and what to look for. So then you're going to say, so here's what we're going to do. By the way, I love that line. Here's what we're going to do. Because what it is like we're working together, like we're doing this together, not telling you what you're going to do. So here's what we're going to do. When you get into bed tonight, rub a few drops of this Serenity Oil right onto your temples. Maybe graze it across your pillow and your fingertips. And as you lay down, take some slow, deep breaths, and you'll start to feel kind of this wonderful calm come over you. You should feel more relaxed, and you should sleep better. But remember, if you don't get the results you're hoping for, we can try something else. I'll call you in a couple days to see how it goes. So around what time is best to call? That is how you deliver a sample. So let's just one more time go over the whole thing. Number one, you're going to deliver it in person if you can. If you have to mail it, you're probably going to send a few samples so that you don't have to go back and forth. Number two, you need the oil when you deliver it, and you need your essential oil reference book, okay? Also, what you need is you need to set the right expectation. And you're going to give essential oils are similar to medication this way, and you give that, okay? Then you're going to tell them how to use it and what to look for. And you're also going to say, hey, can I call you in a couple days to see how it's working? When you ask somebody if you can call them in a couple days, I've never had someone say, no, you're giving me a free sample, but no, you can't call me to find out if it's worked or not. Especially if you explain to them, not everything works the same. And if it doesn't work, then guess what? I'll bring you something else. They're always willing to say, yeah, you can call me. Before you leave, what you want to do is you want to grab that, that A to Z book or the essential oil reference book, and you want to just simply, almost as an afterthought, say, oh, I brought something else for you. This is a little book, and it kind of tells some basics about essential oils and how they work and why they work. But what you can do is you can actually flip open the book and just alphabetically go through this book and find whatever ailments that you're struggling with, or your husband or your kids, and just look up different things like acne, or you can look up things like allergies. All sorts of things are in here. And it might be really interesting for you to know that essential oils are so powerful in so many different ways in your family, and so many different things can have a positive effect with essential oils. So as you do that, you give them this little book, and then you leave. After after you've figured out what time that you can call them back, if it's in the morning or the afternoon and the evening, you hand them that essential oil guide. Why is that so critical? I have people that say, oh my goodness, it's just one more thing and it's more expensive. Oh my goodness, this is critical. And I'll tell you why. What you want them to do is have a good experience with the oils, and then think to themselves, what other things can essential oils work for? Because we don't want them to think, I'm just going to buy Serenity oil to help me sleep. We want to expand their minds to think, boy, this could really change a lot of things. I could really reinvent my healthcare here in my house and with my kids. And they get curious and they start flipping through this. It's essential that you give them one of these little books. Now, I know that in certain countries around the world, some of these books are either more expensive or they're not available in that language. So do what you can, but if you have access to these reference books, use them. And that's it. That's exactly how you deliver a sample and how you set expectations. Now, what I'd like you to do, your assignment for this call is to go over that script that I'm giving you. The exact script. Now, you can tweak it after you've memorized it, because once you've memorized it, it can become yours, right? But memorize it word for word. The script of essential oils are similar to medication in this way, right? Memorize it word for word, and then practice it a few times. Once you do that, it becomes so natural. And now you're ready to deliver a sample and set the right expectations. And what you'll find is you'll have many more people that, even though they didn't have the perfect, experience, or they didn't get exactly what they were looking for, they'll be way more willing to let you drop off something else and continue this process. And remember, the more contacts we get, the more they're willing to purchase when they're out of class, and the way more willing they are to actually do the business with you. So have a good day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, so I'm going to type in here that script that she gave. Whoops, maybe not. Hang on, let me go back there and grab it. It's not letting me grab it. Let me try something else. All right, I can post that on our Promoting a Healer in Every Home page. So, interesting thoughts. Now, she says when she starts talking about sampling, she has 5 mentor calls that talk about sampling. So the next mentor call is going to talk about that 2-day follow-up and what to say and how to approach it as far as if it worked well, how to give another sample, and how to move forward. Okay. And so it's great stuff, and I hope you'll partake. So I have in the chat box already the link to participate in those mentor calls if you aren't already doing that, or you haven't tapped into that yet. And I also have it posted on Promoting a Healer in Every Home, so you can find it there as well. I think she's got some really great tips here. So what are your thoughts after what you just heard? How many of you actually send out a sample with a little pocket guide, A to Z guide or something of the same sort. How many of you do that? Yeah. So that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal to help them know that they can use these oils for other things too. I love that. So the follow-up is going to be critical. Doing what we say we're going to do, and when we say we're going to do it, and keeping tabs and having those other touches time and time again. Okay. So I'm ready to not have no shows to my classes. I'm ready to make sure that when people come, they are prepared to actually buy. I'm ready to enroll more people. I'm ready to actually find more business builders by having those touches again and again and again to let them know that they can work with me and that we are partnered together in their wellness journey. So anyway, your thoughts.
Hey, I have a Vietnamese kind of A to Z, a little bit similar to that. If you guys have people that are Vietnamese and you want to sample, you can do that too. Yeah. It really works. It's not that hard. This is not that hard.
Yeah, it's not that hard. And sometimes we try to rush it and hurry things through. That day-to-day, using the pipes, that day-to-day activity of going through at least 2 or 3 of the pipes every single day keeps people in our flow, right? So we always have people to talk to. So even though we sample today, we don't necessarily need to get them to a class tomorrow or in a couple of days, right? We need to work them through the process slowly, but have consistent classes on our calendar to invite to when the time is right, they've had a positive product experience. And that's something that Elise recommends. Excuse me. She doesn't invite them to a class until they've had a positive product experience, okay? And they know the products works, and then comes the invitation, okay? So part of that pipes, the first one, remember, is prepare. We're preparing them, okay, with all these little touches until we're ready to do the invite to attend the class. And then we enroll, okay? So, all right, that's what I wanted to share today. There's lots more there, some great information. I'm so grateful that Elise has made this available free of charge to us so that we can learn ourselves and share it with our team members. You know, when I first got started with doTERRA, there was no training available. And so Jade talks about, Debbie didn't train me. There was no training available, right? But Jade even started doing classes before she had seen a class, and so did Marie. And so at any rate, we really can do this business and learn along the way. And that's what I love. I love learning, continually learning along the way, tweaking my game a little bit each and every day. And so that's part of the journey, part of it.
Debbie, I just want to clarify that I have never said, Debbie, never train me, because I never expected you to. I own my business. And I would really like everyone to understand that too, because I never had in my heart ever, like, I'm not doing well because of somebody else. And I knew that we were going on this journey together. What I bought from Debbie was the passion and the belief that God has provided something awesome, and we're going to do this together, Jade. And I was like, yay! That's all I needed. And I'm all, let's figure it out together. And I don't want to share stuff with her necessarily until I figured it out, because what if it doesn't work? We're going to figure this out together. So I did contact Debbie a lot too, asking her this and that question and bouncing ideas off her. But, you know, I really would like everyone to know that, you know, this is your business. And, you know, you get on board and you have to make sure you learn stuff. And even if we provide the training, right, if you forget and you need to repeat and review, that's your job, right? And I realize that sometimes I teach and teach and teach. And then some people, they just totally spaced it. And they come back and go, oh, I didn't know anything about the Power 3. You didn't teach me. And I'm all, wait a second, dude. Right, this is your business. You know, if you feel like I didn't do this job, well then, you know, fill in the blanks. I tell my kids the same things. You go to school, and if the teacher didn't teach you stuff right, you learn it yourself. You know, that's your job. Yeah.
That's right. Thanks, Jade, because there's one last thought I want to leave you with, okay? I posted this on my Facebook on Promoting a Healer page last night, or yesterday, or sometime the day before, I don't remember. Can you see this quote? Success is never owned, it is only rented, and rent is due every day. I asked for comments here because we were going to bring this up today, and I want your comments. Well, how do you see that? Success is never owned, it is only rented, and rent is due every day. What are your thoughts on that?
success is a becoming word. It's not an end destination, is it?
I think we are all responsible for our own success, right? As you just reiterate, right? But it's an everyday investment, right? We can't become successful and be successful the rest of our lives and not do anything more. It is an everyday investment. And so whether we tweak that word rented or not, I'm going to show you actually Ben's comment on here. Not sure if I agree. What is the reasoning behind this idea? There are many times when I feel like I own success. It's almost like a choice. Tony Robbins says that you simply need to define what you mean by success. It's a very great comment, right? So we are totally responsible for our success, but there is that investment, in my opinion, that everyday investment, so that it's not going to be there forever if we don't keep investing in our success.
What I learned, Debbie, is it's who you are. If you are successful, then no matter what happens, it's going to come back to you. So don't totally understand all of that, but in my head, I'm just translating it in a way that, you know, you be it every day. That's what I'm thinking. But like Ben taught me, you know, look at Trump. If he's lost billions, in a few years, he'll make billions again because he is successful. You know, he's a billionaire. He will be a billionaire no matter what's happening. So, you know, I feel like that's how we are. If I feel like I own Diamond, I will always be Diamond. If something happens, I'll fix it. And I did. You know, at the very beginning when I was almost Diamond and I had to sacrifice a silver leg, but I'm Diamond. And I can sacrifice this because I know that I'm going to get another silver somewhere else. Right? And it's just who you are in the core. Yeah. So this is awesome. I just have to be blue and be presidential. Yeah. I'm almost there.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie.
Yes, Jen.
This reminds me of something I saw. I can't even tell you who it was, but they did in doTERRA, they did a study on the presidential diamonds, and they were trying to figure out what they all had in common. And the one thing they all had in common was doing the mundane things every single day. So when you talk about rent here, that's what it makes me think of. It's getting up, doing the samples, making the contacts, planning the classes over and over and over. So I think the rent is, and the thing that they all had in common is doing the mundane things over and over and over. And that's what made them successful above anything else.
Thank you, Jen. Beautiful summary. Absolutely, yes. And so in all of last week, we talked about, you know, making our 100 names list and actually qualifying people. She spends classes 1 through 5 on that, and then classes 6 through 10, or 6 through 10, 11, whatever, on sampling. That's important, the sampling. So those mundane tasks are really important, right? And then reaching out to our 7-star people first, as we talked about last week, right? So the rent is due every day. Getting up every day and doing simple things consistently on a day-to-day basis really breeds success long-term, right? And so anyway, love you guys. Thanks for joining me today. I apologize for taking a little bit more than an hour of your time. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it spurs you on to go back and listen to her mentor calls and get a little more insight in the next couple of calls. I won't start on sampling next week. I'll hope you'll do that. But the role play that she discusses, I think is really vital, to role play with either your upline or role play with a team member. If they're doing this, role play with your spouse, role play in the front of the mirror. I think it's more effective if you role play with somebody. But at any rate, do some role playing on the script so they flow off your tongue easily. And she talks about memorization. I've talked about memorization before, and some people have some other thoughts about that. I think when you memorize something, that something comes off your tongue. But as you work with it, then it becomes your own, and you tweak the wording a little bit and the verbiage a little bit to make it your own.
I agree with that. Totally. It's like it's a crutch, right? And I think that when you start with like a script, that's what scripts are, right? They're a crutch to help you get started, and then as you get comfortable, you tweak the words and make it your own.
Absolutely. Thanks, Marie, for that comment. So thanks for being on here. I'm going to stick around until you guys have had all your questions asked, but we're done with our training now. So I'm going to actually stop the share and stop the recording. and hope for those of you who watch this later that this is most helpful. All right. So I'm going to turn off the recording and say bye-bye for now.